Today we are going to make an art journal using those gel prints you have in your stash. It's super simple and it uses a minimum amount of supplies. So grab out some gel prints. I'm using 5, but you can use more. You will also need a pair of scissors. If you've got a paper cutter, you can use that, but it's not necessary. A glue stick. I prefer Elmer's, but I'm also using Staples brand and it works great. Alternatively, you can be using sticker paper, a corner punch, and a bone folder. These are nice to have and I use them, but they're not necessary for the project. So here is the prototype that I made using some gel prints. And I'm going to show you step by step how to do that. So to start, you need a selection of gel prints. Now most of my gel prints are on regular size copy paper, 8.5 by 11, and I believe my copy paper is 24 pound. If you do this with mixed media paper or some other thicker paper, that may limit how many pages you can put, but give it a try. So the first step here is to fold them in half. Now you can use a paper cutter, but mine is a mini paper cutter, so some cuts I can't do with that. So I am just going to rip it. I'm going to fold, get a nice fold, and rip it. Alternatively, you can use a straight edge, like a metal ruler, and put it on there and rip the edge. Now most gel prints, mine anyways, because I have an 8 by 10 gel plate, end up with that white border. Don't worry about that because we're going to deal with that in this process. We're going to get rid of a lot of it. And when I finish the journals, I teach you ways to further get rid of that or deal with it. So I'm doing this kind of assembly line. I'm doing all the folding in half and ripping. Now you want to take the halves of my 8.5 by 11 papers and fold them in half with the gel print to the inside. Now you want to be a little bit careful. Now your art journal is not going to be perfect, but the more attention you pay to lining things up, the less likely you're going to have issues down the road. I'm using a bone folder to get a nice fold. You can use a key card here. So before I grab the glue stick, I want to get rid of that torn edge. I'm not a fan. Some people really like it and in fact would tear all the edges. So I grab my paper cutter and I'm going to clean that up. And then I realize that maybe I'm going to not get them all exact. And as much as I say, don't try to be perfect, I do have that perfectionist strain. And then I decide I'm going to cut them so they're 5 inches. I'm going to use my paper cutter and cut them now for 5 inches. Now, you can make your art journal any size you want. I'm not focused on the measurements. If your papers are a different size, use them. If I just had half sheets, I would just use it, and maybe my art journal is going to be, it'll be a different size. Then I decide that I am going to actually cut off a little bit more here on the other side so that my page measures 5 by 7. I love working on 5 by 7s. I find that a great size to do a spread. So I'm going to play with that. It could be 4 by 6. It could be any measurement that you want. And if you're using scissors, you may not actually be measuring. You're just eyeballing it and going by your instincts. So here I'm just cutting everything to 3 inches. Now this is Tim Holtz Tonic Mini Cutter, and it's perfect for me. It's only measures 6 inches, so you're limited as to what size papers you can cut, but it doesn't take up a lot of space in my craft room, and it's easy to take in and out and use. So now I'm just sorting like with like before I get going in assembling and creating my art journal. And again, don't worry about, I have one side left of white border. I'm going to show you that in the next video where I actually take the art journals that we create here and finish them. So on the one page, you want to use your glue stick and get good coverage. Pay attention, get it right to the end. Now the page that you're gluing onto it, you are just going around the edges, doubling up, and then I'm using the bone folder to get good adhesion. Now I misaligned it, so you do have a little bit of time to pull it apart and align it properly if you do that. But there's ways to tweak it. And again, we have to embrace the imperfections. So give a good coverage to one, right to the edge on the other, stroke through the middle, and then fold it side to fold it side. Keep that folded edge on the same, that's the spine of our journal. I've chosen to use different colors for each spread. You could pick a theme and go just blues and greens or just blues. Pretty much the sky's the limit. Now the gel prints I chose also, they aren't ones that I loved, but in this art journal, they are the first layer. They will jumpstart the creative process. And in the video that follows this video, I'll show ways of working with whatever that gel print is. So you're definitely going to want to catch part 2. I'm making sure the edges are folded, and doing that, gluing both pages and paying particular attention to the edges really paid off because none of my edges came apart. I didn't have to reapply glue later like I did when I did my prototype. So now that one book's done, I'm just going to speed up the video here and glue the second book. Now I could have put all these papers and made one book. I just like the idea of having a mini book. But you can add more pages. And by the time these are glued together, 2 pages together, they're pretty substantial. And I would even put modeling paste and different things to them. Now we're going to show you 2 ways of doing the covers. Now one, here is the first gel print. All you're going to do is take it, open it up, and glue it to the back. This is going to give you a book that has a cover and 4 full-size spreads, or 8 half spreads. This isn't exactly perfect. You may want to trim the edge to get it perfect. Because again, they're all the same size, so it just was a little short. So that's one way to do the cover. There you may want to pay attention to what gel print you have in the front. Now the other way is to pick another gel print, and to be fair, this is not a gel print. This is a masterboard that I had in my stash that I created by layering stencils. Now you may choose to make your cover out of a little bit thicker paper, but it's not absolutely necessary. Now, again, I'm not dealing with measurements, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I'm dry fitting it, so to speak, and then cutting off and trying and going back and forth. And remember, yours may be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller than mine. You just want it to fit. Now I want it fairly close to the exact size, just a little bit of excess because it's going over top of it. And if you have more pages, you're going to need this to be bigger. So dry fitting it, trying it, tweaking it is probably the way to go. It's the way I roll anyways. So once I am sure that it fits closely to what I want, I am simply going to glue the back and the front the same way I did before. I'm getting a good coat of glue around the edges, and I did put on the cover. I didn't get the camera going at that time, and making good adhesion. And then flip to the back and do the same. Now you might choose to not put the cover on till your journal is actually all done. And the benefit of that is you're not going to get your cover dirtied by whatever mediums you're using. Here I'm just cutting out the excess a little bit just because it's not perfect. So you can tweak it along the way. And remember, we're keeping it simple. I love the idea of doing this assembly line and making multiple mini journals that I have on hand that I can grab and do in one creative sessions or several creative sessions, doing a page a day. Now I'm grabbing my corner punch from We Are Memory Makers and rounding the corners. I love rounded corners. And the reason I'm struggling here is because I've just glued this together and the glue isn't quite dry, even though it's just glue stick. So you're going to want to make it dry. That'll help you be more successful rounding corners. And you want to cut off the excess before and make sure you have square when you're rounding the corners. So now I'm going to do the same. Cut off the excess. And this time I decided I'm going to cut off the excess. I opened it up and I'm using my guillotine mini cutter to do it. And then I'm rounding the corners. And then everything is square and it works so much easier. So there we have the two journals, but I wanted to make it look more like a notebook. So I grabbed a piece of leftover, this was odds from sticker paper, and I'm just painting it black. And I'm going to peel and stick. Now these come from Amazon, my sticker sheets, my full-size adhesive sticker sheets. They're super, the adhesive is wonderful. If yours is from the dollar store or it's not so great, you may want to add some gel medium and some other glue just to be sure. Now this one, I didn't really work too carefully. One side is thicker than the other, but I'll show you how to make it so that both sides are even. So pull off the backing paper, lay it on the table, then you can eyeball half. Press down and fold over and get great adhesion. Cut off the excess. And I like how this looks. It makes it look like a real notebook. Now, if you don't have sticker paper, you can just use copy paper and use gel medium to glue it down. So the video, I'm going to finish this journal. I hope to see you in my next video. Until then, go get those gel prints and make yourself some art journals. Bye for now.